What if the family you came from doesn't have to define the family you create?
As African parents, we always think that the child should know when the child has not been taught.
We need to show our children more the humanness in us. We need to stop posing as demigods, We need to be more vulnerable.
I want to welcome us today to Family Life Podcast. I am Mosunmola, Aiyanyo, a certified family life practitioner with the Institute of Family Engineering and Development. And today I am your host on this episode. So whether you're single or you're dating with intention or you're married or you're parenting the next generation, I want to assure you that this podcast is your one-stop hub for life-transforming family life solutions. And it is also your safe haven, for learning, for growth, for wholeness, for healing, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to parenting, you can always count on us in this podcast. Also, in this podcast, we don't just stay on the surface. We dig deep down into we do root cause analysis, actually, because we dig deep down into real stories. We bring you expert guests who have been trained with the Institute, and we also deploy tested and trusted tools, from the network of family system engineering approach. So there's always something to learn. There's always something to glean when you stay glued to, this Family Life podcast. So this day I have two amazing and wonderful people with me that are going to help to trash the topic before us today. And I am going to allow them to introduce themselves, to you. And I will start with Loretta. I want you to tell us who you are. Let us meet you. We are happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for the privilege to be here. My name is Loretta Itamah. I'm an associate family systems engineering practitioner with the Institute of Family Engineering and Development. I host the Lori Brand podcast. My practice is on legacy conscious parenting. It's just about inspiring, teaching, guiding you to parent today with the future in mind. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. So, Emuobo, I want you to introduce yourself and what you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mosu. My name is Emuobo Ochojila. I'm an associate adolescent and teen coach from IFED, and I'm happy to be here. I enjoy doing what I'm doing, and that's the reason why I joined this wonderful network.
All right. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here with me to trash out the topic before us. Today, the topic before us is why teenagers don't talk to their parents and how to change that, because we really want our viewers to glean from, what we know and to have some practicable things, to take away from this episode that can help them, to deal more effectively, actually, with their teenager, and so cultivate an atmosphere that encourages connection, that encourages them to speak out, and So I will start by first of all asking, Embo, I will start with you. Can you remember a moment where you really wanted to talk, to your parents, but you couldn't and you didn't? What held you back? Do you have any story along that line that you can share with us?
My story will be more about the loss of a parent. And this time around, my mom at the age of 13.
Wow.
And of course, being a girl and 13-year-old, at this time, this is when I really, really need my mom. And especially for the fact that this is a time a girl is going through puberty. This is where she needs guidance and, and all that. And
True.
I didn't have her to guide me at that point. And of course, I couldn't turn to my dad, not because I could not speak with him, but the particular um, um, issues concerning the girl was something I wasn't too sure about in terms of approaching him to speak with him. So yeah, it just left me in a space where I was looking for someone to speak with, because the person I could have naturally spoken with was not available.
All right, thank you so much. That brings me to ask that, what then can single parents do? Because some people, find themselves to be single parents, and how do you think they can handle issues like this? Although I'm still going to share my perspective briefly on that, but I want you to just, what do you think? What advice do you have for single parents?
Well, from experience, I would say to single parents, especially when you're in a situation that you did not plan for, death, divorce, separation, the child should still be considered as as the primary person you should be taking care of. I know it's not easy for you or whoever is going through that process of grief, of divorce or separation, to handle the children alone or the child alone. But they have to put it in mind that if they do not take care of the child, then the child would begin to look outside, look for other alternative means of connection, to answer their need. And one never knows what kind of connections they would get if they're not properly guided. So it's to encourage the single parent, to still stay connected with their teenager.
That's true. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I would even say that in some homes whereby we even have both parents, you still realize that they're still not talking to their children, and their children are still not able to talk with them. Because such was, the kind of encounter I had growing up, to the extent that, of course, I was close to my mom, but there was just that gap. I don't know how it came about, to the extent that I can't even say she gave me a sex message, a sex education, or talk to me about periods. I didn't have that information from her. Do you know? So, and I think most times in African homes, we are not vulnerable enough, to open up, to see these things as things that must be talked about. And also, teenagers, I believe, sometimes don't have that confidence to approach their parent, because that atmosphere, is not in the home, has not been created, or perhaps sometimes for maybe fear of judgment, or it could be a lot of things, or just one-way communication in the home. So I want to ask you, Loretta, do you have any story that you want to share with us in this regard, and how parents can, begin to bridge this gap in communicating and relating with their teenagers?
Well, for me, my own story it was not when I was a teenager.
Okay.
However, we all know that in Africa, in a lot of African homes, there's this expectation. Your parents, of course, I was the first daughter, or I am the first daughter, so you have to be a good girl. And after you have finished
Most
university,
definitely.
and you're done with NYSC, every knock on the door feels like it's a suitor that is knocking. So you won't even want to say you're dating anyone, because number one, you have to be a good girl. And the contradiction is you also have to say that you're dating someone, because of course your mates are married. What are you still doing at home, right? So what it was a dilemma. And I can remember vividly that the person I was dating then, thankfully, is my husband now. He was involved in a fatal accident that actually cost their bosom friend. And his uncle told me about it.
Mm.
But then the way he explained it, it was like, it's just a broken bone. But the uncle told me details about it. And it was a life and death situation. I was torn apart. I was heartbroken. I was scared that he wasn't going to make it, because he even had to be moved from the city, had the accident to another one, just to make sure that he stood a chance at surviving. So you can imagine how distraught and emotionally hurt I was. And they'll still come and say, Loretta, go and bring this to Loretta. I mean, I finished making food. I just wanted to crawl into a hole and just be there and waiting for good news. And then one time, my father comes into the room and he's like, wow, you just been sluggish. I told you to go and do this, and I've still not done it. Bombastic side, I just, because you cannot forget your manners. I cannot really talk back. So my older brother, God bless him, he was so pissed off. He just stood up for me and said, is it that people don't know when this person is hot? Don't you see that she has been withdrawing from all of these things? You don't even care to ask her what's going on. As he just said, I just broke down. I was crying. So my dad was shocked and he's like, what's happening? What was wrong? What happened? So I opened up to him, and if I couldn't find the words, so my brother still jumped in and said, the person she's seen had an accident and he's fighting for his life. My God, my father was broken by the story.
But what
Felt
has your
bad, and
communication, sorry to cut you short, but the communication in the home, what has it been before then? Because I want to believe that if there has been a two-way and a good way of communicating before then, I think it would have been easier for you to tell them.
like I said, the air around the home is, number one, be a good girl. Being a good girl definitely means that you're not seeing anyone, right? And number two, it's just untold. No, it was not even untold. It was out there. Like, down that you're done with school, you're done with LYC. Who are you married? Where is he? So you cannot come and say you're dating someone. What if he's not the one and it does not lead to marriage? How will you explain to your parents? Do you understand? So because of these two reasons, you are just shutting up. Unless, of course, maybe you're very sure.
I
And
can say
okay,
that's fear of judgment, don't you think?
yes, fear of judgment and fear of it failing, and then you now be criticized that, oh, you dated this person and it did not work. So it was a two-way thing, like a double-edged sword, and it was frustrating. And I don't think there were many African homes then, especially here in Nigeria, where you boldly with your full chest and go and tell your mom that you're dating somebody. How? They born you well. You're supposed to be, hey, holy, hey, holy Nigeria. It's not going to.
And that's why it's very
So,
difficult for parents to know what is happening in the lives
yes,
of their
yes,
children, because if they
yes,
don't talk to you, how do you know what
yes.
is happening with them? So I just want to encourage parents, that are listening and that will be listening to this, that the absence of a calm and curious listening ears, builds emotional walls, and those walls can stay there for years. So I think every parent needs to, start creating this atmosphere that can foster communication. Just encourage your child to speak to you, that no matter what, you can always talk to me, you can always confide in me. Okay, let's go to the next question. I'll go to Emuobo again. What are the subtle things that parents do or don't do that make teenagers feel judged or unsafe emotionally? Do you think there are things that we parents do that make, our teenagers feel judged? I want to ask you that because you said you're also into teenage ministry, so I know that you would have a lot of insights for us in that area. Go for
Okay.
it. Yeah.
I'm not only, well, you could say I'm into teenage ministries because I've worked with my church. I've also worked with, I just find myself being so interested in young people
Oh, I
that
thought you said you
anything.
mentioned doing something for teenagers when you were introducing yourself.
I said I'm an adolescent/teen coach, associate adolescent/teen
Okay.
coach. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yes, I have a background of working with children, with
Okay.
young people, and that's not what I started with. My educational background is architecture, and I'm a professional project manager. But I've always had this passion for young people, which got me to do so many things, and this is all part of it. I've worked with schools. I've run a franchise, a STEM franchise. So just to ensure that coaching young people. Now, the question you said, what you asked was, what do we parents do? Yeah.
Or don't do.
Yeah.
What we do and what we don't do. Because sometimes it's what we don't do. Yeah.
Yeah. What we don't do is what I would focus on.
That's
and that is active listening.
Okay.
This is something we do unconsciously. I'm a parent, so I can tell you from experience, we tend to not be intentional about listening to our teenagers because sometimes we think they are being naughty or they're being manipulative or they're being whatever word you choose to call it. We find reasons not to pay attention when they are talking to us. Yeah.
Paying
So
attention.
you could find things like you find your child doing something, maybe playing a game. You walk into the child playing a game, and then you say, "Oh, you've been playing this game for the past 10 hours." And the child is like, "No." Said, no, I know you've been playing it. You do not want to listen because you want to believe what you believe. Let me use that word. You just want to hold on to what you believe. And active listening helps the child to be seen. The child now, when you're actively listening to a child, the child recognizes the fact that you have him or her at the center of whatever is going on around you right now. So if, for example, your child comes to you and says, "Mom, you're working, you're doing whatever you're doing, you're busy. It's obvious that you're busy, but have you noticed that's the time they want to talk to you, And then you do not, the first thing you want to do as an African parent is, please leave me alone. I'm busy. Why are you doing this at this time? But active listening would say, okay, one moment. Let me finish with this and I would get back to you. So the child now feels, oh, at least my parent recognized that I needed their attention and has agreed to give me time at a certain period, even if it's not right now. So that commitment makes them feel more comfortable coming to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I would say snooping. You say you trust someone, yet you're going and checking their devices. You want to see who they're chatting with, the websites they are visiting. You go as far as to checking their rooms. Yes, that can be very annoying to make them even hide more from you. I believe that on the contrary, if you build an active relationship with them, if you make yourself available for them to come share with you, they would see you as someone they can always come and talk to. The reason may be that we set on unrealistic expectations. When I was your age, I could pound yam for 50 people. I could cook fried rice for 1,000 people. Like, that was your age. This is me right now. The thing is that when we were younger, during our time, we're always saying most of us had late periods. A lot of children are going into puberty a lot earlier, and all the hormones they have to deal with, the distraction, the peer pressure, and all the societal everything they have to deal with right now is different from when we were younger. So we're setting unrealistic expectations for them rather, while we're modeling infallibility to them. Like, it's not okay to make mistakes. These, your mates, and then we're comparing them with other people.
As if mistake is a taboo.
Exactly.
But you can always learn from your mistakes.
You understand? So if we keep doing these things, they will withdraw from us instead of opening up. And most of the times, they find solace in the company of their friends, and we lose their ears, we lose their hearts, we lose their attention. and the things we are scared of most of the times we drive them towards, and that's a problem. I'm not saying all of this to scare us, I'm saying it to create awareness so that you go back and look at it really. Are you doing these things? How can you begin to do better? Learn to grow trust. It comes from little tiny moments where they tell you, mommy, believe me, I'm going to do this. Daddy, believe me, I'm going to do this. And you allow them do it. Sometimes we even want them to do something. We don't give them the space to try. Right now, I've heard that there's such a thing called lawnmower parenting, where you are preparing the road for the child instead of preparing the child for the road. You are hovering, you don't want them to fall, you don't want them to make mistakes. But in these
Helicopter
mistakes, in this
parenting.
that's lawnmower now. That's where trust is, that's where grit is built, where resilience is built, where discipline is cultivated. So if we allow our children try and cheer them on and believe in them, then they can learn to trust us more. We also trust them that they are not always terrible. Now you can talk about teenagers like they are mini demons. They are not always having things to hide. If you trust them and you cultivate or create an environment that is safe for them to come talk to you, guess what? You won't have to, because they'll come and tell you that thing you're looking for, and be big on building a relationship. Go on dates with them, talk to them, play with them, make sure that they can always come to you. I think it will help us win their hearts and keep their attention and guide them.
Thank you.
If I may add,
go ahead, please.
African parents are big on sarcasm.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to say that. That was
so they come to you, mommy, where should I drop this? And they say, on my head,
My head.
That's it.
Oh my God.
That's part of our trademark.
I'm telling
I'm
you.
guilty.
So it's such a I'm telling you, and it's such a
I'm so good at me, like, oh my God.
I think they're used to us now doing this. But you see, the thing is, I noticed that even when we do that, if you actually look at your teenager's face, if you're aware of their
Bombastic
body
side eye.
language, they're wondering, like, why did you say your head? I'm actually asking a genuine question. I really don't know where to drop this. Because as African parents, we always think that the child should know when the child has not been taught. So if the child should be taught, and given, like Loretta said,
it is you have taught
yes, give them the time, to fail. But as parents, I think it's hard for us because we do not want to see our children fail. So we feel sometimes tough love,
everything to be perfect at every point in time.
Yes.
As if we didn't even
sarcasm
when we were growing up.
Exactly. So sarcasm is one thing African parents are very good at. And I think it's something we should look into.
Yeah, it's something we should most definitely. Thank you for that. Let me also add that our dismissive responses, the way we just dismiss them without wanting them to, without, providing them the reason for saying what we have said. And also even with our tone of voice at times,
True.
The way we answer, the way we talk, it's enough for a child not want for a child to not want to move close to you or open up with you. This because the child you have shouted on or you have talked down on or that you have spoken to Ashley, you don't expect that child to now come to you easily and just open up to you. So I think these are the little things we need to actually take care of as parents, knowing that communication is not just what we say, it's also how we say it. So thank you so much for contributing to that. I think we can quickly move to the next question, which is in African homes, especially, emotions can feel like a taboo. So how do we begin to normalize emotional conversations, especially conversations about the opposite gender? Who is going to go first? Who wants to go first for us? How do we start to normalize this conversation? Because whether we like it or not, when we were their age, we had crushes. We had, so how do we start to normalize? Some parents still have issues, in opening up, in having these conversations, these emotional conversations with their teenagers? Okay,
Oh,
Loretta,
sorry,
can you
one
go for that?
moment.
Yeah, thank you.
First and foremost, I believe that we should come to a place where we would accept the fact that times have changed, and that will come with a lot of knowledge
Yeah.
seeking, right?
Mm,
Times have changed. The world you grew in has long gone. So you
mm,
must now begin to ask yourself, what were the things you wish you had as a child? And I don't mean this from the point of view of materialism,
mm.
right? Material gifts and all. What were the things you wish you had as a child? What would you have wanted your parents to do differently? So
Yeah.
if you have taken inventory, you can now begin to reparent yourself and by extension dream better. Now it's not enough to say yes, I was traumatized. I admit that it was terrible, it was painful. I empathize and sympathize with you. But I'm sorry, you have to find help. There are there are coaches and mentors and therapists, like from the click of your buttons and the comfort of your homes, you can get the help that you need so that you go from that hurt to a place where you can now be present and healed enough to raise
Mm.
your children, all right? So if you create the environment that makes discussing these things possible, if you stop selling yourself as a saint, really, so it has a virgin, who used to talk to man, I know all
Which is
these
a big
things
lie.
we just you do you understand? Do you understand? Really, it's not fair. It's not fair because they want to be able to relate with us. They want to see the humanness in us. They want to see that
Mhm.
situation too. And it's okay that I feel this way. Sometimes these feelings are new to them, are strange to. They are unable to even language them. They are unable to say what it is that they are feeling. So when you see through stuff, or they are changing it in a certain way, and you language it for them, they'll feel more comfortable opening up to you because they now
Yeah.
say that I'm not abnormal, or this thing is not happening to only me. It's
Mhm.
a challenge with parents, especially because when we're going through challenges, we don't talk to other parents. But sometimes you see that when you are in parenting forums and somebody says, my 10-year-old is bad, but you're like, oh, me too.
Okay, what I would say is that generally the African parents with African homes, emotions are not usually allowed.
Oh.
I would use that word allowed, usually, not all African homes, but generally
Mm,
speaking, emotions are
mm.
not allowed. It's in an African home that you would see a child being disciplined. The child is crying, and the parent is
Why are you
saying, do you
crying?
want me to? Yeah, why are you
Keep
crying?
quiet.
You're going to get smacked for crying. You're smacked for being smacked or disciplined for the wrong you did, and then you're
Yes.
smacked again for crying.
For
So the
crying, for
child,
expressing
for
your
expressing
emotions.
the emotions that this is painful, you
Yeah.
know. So I think it's just it's just a cultural thing, and it now trickles down to
Mm.
not being able to label your emotions
Yeah.
when it comes to the gender and the opposite gender. And then you're not, because you've not been taught
Mm-hmm.
how to label those emotions. Because definitely every child, every teenager will go through this period of a period where they have strong feelings for the other opposite gender.
Most
So
definitely.
how do African
Part of
parents
develop
help
growth and
them?
development. Yeah.
Exactly. How do African parents help them define these emotions? And in helping them define these emotions, you're going to help them find
Mm.
ways of navigating these emotions.
Mm.
If we
Mm-hmm.
do not do that, then they bottle up these emotions, and then
Mm.
it becomes something that just comes out in probably the wrong way because
Mm.
it wasn't properly directed.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
so
like a
much.
bottle that is now full, and
Mm.
it's full to overflowing, and it just
Yeah.
goes in every direction.
Excellent. Yeah.
But if it was properly directed, then they would
Directed
know
and
how to
guided.
handle,
Yeah.
the
Yeah, thank you
emotions.
so much for sharing, that insight. I also want to believe that when we model openness, to our
Mhm.
children, when we model vulnerability to them, we normalize it. You are able to tell them, oh, this is what I'm going through. I think I'm really stressed today. I think, but I think in most homes, we don't model this. We don't want to be vulnerable, but we need to be more vulnerable. I think the more vulnerable we are and the more we communicate that vulnerability to them, I think it will also help them to open up. And I also think that when we stop overreacting to their honesty, I think it will help, because when a child opens up to you, about an attraction, and you're like, hey, what did you do? Why did such things, you're just encouraging them to shut down, actually. So thank you so much for that. It says, how can a parent rebuild trust with a teenager who has already shut down? Is there hope? Do you think there is hope for such a parent to be able to rebuild trust with a teenager who has already shut down, not communicating with the parent? You don't even know what is happening in the life of that teenager. Any tip for parents out there?
I think they can reconnect. I mean, that's the reason for some of us going through this training through IFED. In fact, while I was going through the training, there was something that was mentioned, SETA, where, at the end of the day, the reason for all that is to ensure that the parents and the child is connected. Sometimes you find children acting up because the main reason behind it is a disconnect between their parent and the child and the teenager. So yes, I believe that you can rebuild trust, but the parent has to be ready to actually build the trust. The parent has to be ready. Children are so malleable. That's the word I would use. Children love their parents. They love their parents. In spite of how they are, they just want to connect with their parents. But parents have a way of putting a barrier between that connection. And I think African parents, especially if we carry on as being the Lord of all, in our homes, great connection. What we need to do is learn to humble ourselves and see the child as an individual. That might be hard. There was a skit I saw one time where they said, an African parent apologizes to you or jumps into the ocean. And what happened was that the parents jumped into the ocean. That it's hard for an African parent to apologize. But you see, the apologizing, it's not actually making you weak. It actually helps the child understand that, I can also make mistakes, and also be gracious to other people as well, because it becomes a cycle. If we are not able to apologize to our child, that child also grows up thinking, what's the point of being sorry for carrying out something wrong? So if you're going to build trust, if you're going to build broken relationship, the first thing to do is just humble yourself as a parent. You are the parents. That can never change. And apologize to the child. That's the first thing I would say.
Like I said previously, we need to show our children more the humanness in us. We need to stop posing as demigods, We need to be more vulnerable. By being vulnerable, I'm not saying be oversharing, like come and start telling them how your husband did this or your wife did that. No, learn to tell them things that are age appropriate
conversations.
So when you can relate with them, you'll be able to, like Emuobo said, you'll be able to apologize more easily. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I did not know my actions were going to cause you this much pain. I'm on a learning journey here. I've never been a parent so understand with me and be patient with me. I don't think there's any child in the world that will hate you
when you hear that and not melt.
Do you understand? How about next time if I do this or do that, you remind me. So for me, I'm very, very terrible when it comes to sarcasm. I'm so good at it. Like, oh my God, I'm not proud of it. But in
Yeah,
all
but
honesty,
the thing is that is what
do you
you grew up with.
understand?
That is what is in our environment,
Exactly. So it's one
So,
big
but we are the ones, we don't have to repeat or replicate patterns, and that is why we are
true,
here.
true,
Yeah.
true. So I tell my
Yeah.
daughters, I'm raising all girls. I tell my daughters, please, when I respond to you sarcastically, can you remind me?
Yeah.
Because I'm a work in
I
progress.
like
That's how I
that.
was able to overcome yelling,
You're
you know.
holding
We had
yourself
a no,
accountable.
yes, we had a no yelling challenge. It was like a competition for like 7 days. If I yell, we got a bottle of chocolate coins. If I
Oh.
yell, I'm going to lose 2 tokens. So over
Ah.
time, they
Wow.
were exactly they wanted to win, and excuse me, please. They wanted to win, and it was a challenge. So
Wow.
from then up until now, like we have a yellow meter, like you cannot go be above a number 3. They'll start telling you hawk mode, like you want to go full blue, go the hawk story. So there are words we use in keeping each other in check. So if you have such
Mm.
mantras, such words, you'll be able to
Mm.
hold each other accountable. Accountability
Yeah.
is very, very important. You don't
Mm.
need to. But I always tell parents that the difference between you and your child is age. Really, you're just older than them,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to be more experienced. So, and by putting in the time, because it
Mm-hmm.
took one action for your trust with them to be broken, it will take a lot
Mm-hmm.
more for that fence to be mended. Be
Yeah.
consistent, keep showing
Yeah.
up, even if they
Yeah.
don't want to, if they cannot trust you immediately, even if it takes them 5 years, just keep showing up and keep being sorry. Don't go and start bullying them and say, is it not that it's just that small thing I did last time? Is that why I'm still packing your face? Don't please shift to one corner. No, I'm kidding. You have every right to be angry. Then teach
So,
them mercifully by showing
thank you
mercy
so much.
too. You know, yes, we are big on discipline. We are very, very big on it, but we should also be gracious enough to pardon them when they do some
Yeah.
things, so that they will learn to show you mercy too. Because for children, however old or young they are, it's always about modeling. They
Mhm.
imitate what they see you do. So if
Yeah.
you are modeling the right actions to them, guess what? They'll be picking on them too.
Yeah. So parents,
Mm. Can
African
I
parents
also add that you
especially,
should
you
allow her?
we are not bullies. So when you want to encourage a child who has shut down, start small. It's not
Mhm.
something that just happened with one big gesture. You can't just do it, something you've not been
Mm.
doing, before. Just acknowledge the hurt. Let them know that, okay, just like you said, maybe I haven't done this, rightly in the past, but I'm ready to make amends and ready to, start doing the things that would encourage you. Apologize, like you said, without excuses, and then start small. So I want to believe that if parents will put these little things into use, definitely there will be a whole lot of improvements, in how they
Please, can I
relate with their
also
team.
add
Okay, you want to
something?
add something? Please go ahead.
Yeah, that we should allow our children have this open and sincere conversation about the cause of the breakdown.
Mm,
It's like giving them a space to let out their own emotion,
mm,
because sometimes we come, even when we're apologizing, we are not apologizing, in the sense that we are not hearing what's the hurt of the child. So it is good to also have an open. We think that the teenagers don't get hurt. In fact, that's the time that their emotions are heightened. So we want to be able to give them the opportunity to express their emotions in a safe space, so that they know that they are also being considered in this broken relationship. Their
yeah.
feelings are also being considered in it.
All right, thank you so much, both of you. Trust, like we have agreed, isn't built with one big gesture, but with small, consistent acts of emotional safety over time. So you mentioned something about safe place, and I'm going to ask the next question based on that, even as we round up, because our time is fast spent. So I'm going to ask us, what does a safe space look like from a teenager's point of view, not from a parent's point of view? So our parents can learn, what does a safe space, I know a safe space is not really talking about the
Oh,
physical
yeah.
space. Yeah. So what does it look like for a teenager, a safe space? Can you start, Emuobo?
Um,
Yeah.
hmm, I'm going to speak from my experience. Um, you know, I got so used to yelling
Mm,
that I did not see that the yelling was actually affecting
mm,
my relationship with my children.
mm,
So until after a while, I realized my son said something to me, and I thought to myself, "Oh, this is what he means when it has to do with yelling."
mm,
They're more or less not listening to you. They don't feel comfortable
mm,
at that time when you're yelling. They don't feel comfortable around you.
mm.
So what I did to them to create a safe space, I said, if I, like how Loretta talked about
Loretta.
is it what did you call it? Chocolate meter, or what is it called?
Chocolate
But
coins. Yes, yes,
chocolate
yes,
coins.
yes.
What I said to them was that if I happen to yell, because this is something
Mm,
I have to unlearn,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have to unlearn it, and it will take a process. And
Yeah.
I said, I have tried to make them understand that, please understand that I do not want to yell at you when I yell at you
Mm,
now, yeah, because I am
Yeah.
I'm unlearning that process. So when it happens, please don't take it to heart. Don't take it seriously. Don't take it like, do not think that mommy does not love you. And the next thing you should tell me is, Mom, you're
mm,
yelling.
mm,
So that they understand that the yelling is not, I am not happy about the yelling as well. Yeah.
mm.
And I want them to take to also, I want them to be my accountability
Yeah.
partner.
Partner.
So when I explain that to them, they understand now that mommy knows that this yelling doesn't work well for me. That's already a safe space. Yeah.
Mm,
I'm already making them see that I would not want to hurt you. So if I'm yelling, I'm still learning not to yell. So help me not to yell, but understand that I love you, even if I make a mistake and yell. Do you get what I'm trying? I don't know if I'm
yeah.
making any sense.
Yeah. Can you just take it up from there, Loretta?
Okay, for
Yeah.
me, I think a genuine safe space would be
Mm,
it is space of a situation where parents actually respond more from curiosity. You're asking to
mm,
learn, you're asking to know, you're not asking like you're interrogating a criminal, right? What
mm,
happened here? Why did this happen that way? Why did that not, like, this person is not a thief now. It's not like he went to steal something, or even if he did, let's even say he did. How about you ask genuinely? I'm curious, what really led to this thing? You see, like you said earlier, it's not so much about what he said, it is a lot about how it is said.
how it is
There's
said.
this
Yeah.
genuineness, there's this genuine concern with which you
Mm,
ask that, oh, that okay, mommy or daddy actually cares, and they are
mm,
asking no, not because they are judging me or because they feel like
yeah.
I'm a terrible person.
Mm,
Creating a safe space would also mean that you teach them to separate themselves from their actions.
mm-hmm.
Guilt is I am bad.
They are not their guilt.
No, sorry,
Mm,
guilt is I did something bad. Shame is
mm,
I am bad. So instead
yeah.
of teaching them to shame themselves, instead of connecting them with their actions or binding them as one, teach them
Mm,
that when you do something wrong, you are not the person who is wrong. Like Emuobo said, when I yell, it is not because I do not like it. That's an action. That's not
mm-hmm,
me. So I tell
mm-hmm,
I asked my daughter, oh my God, this is a bit embarrassing, but I'll just say, when you use the toilet, right, you press the flush button, right? Whatever
mm-hmm.
goes down, is that you? No,
No, it's
right?
not me. I
Whatever
like that
mess goes down, it's
analogy.
not you. Do you understand? So can you
Yes.
dissociate yourself from whatever you have done? And so
Mm-hmm,
when you do something wrong,
mm-hmm.
understand that my love for you is not based on your actions. It is you that I love, irrespective of what you have done. And most importantly, be consistent in your response. It's not
Mm,
that on Friday, when they do A, you react differently. I'm not saying make it exactly the same, but let it be predictable, right? I know
yeah.
mommy is going say A, B, C, or D. I know daddy is going to say A, B, C, D, or
I
E,
like that.
so that way they're able to
Predictability.
manage their expectations too. It
Mhm.
creates a kind of safety net around them, knowing
Yeah,
what to expect for what, and
yeah,
then reach an agreement. When you do this, this is what I'm going to do in return. Or if you misbehave, what do you think will be the appropriate punishment for
yeah. The
this offense?
consequences for bad behavior. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
already
Exactly. So when you
predetermined,
reach this
so they know what to
agreement
expect.
together,
Yeah, no surprises.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Completely
Exactly,
agree
no
with you.
surprise. So it's all about systems, and I believe that that's what the Institute of Family Engineering and Development is about:
Definitely.
creating
Yeah,
family systems that support you, that help
yeah,
you. So, gone
yeah.
are the days where parents will say we do not have a parenting manual. We
Mm.
practically are here
Mm.
to help you create one. What values are
Yes.
Yes.
important to
Yeah.
you? What do you want to be known for as a family? The peaceful family, the yelling family. There are some families in certain neighborhoods that once the father is
Oh,
driving into the estate, they'll just say, yes, the lion of the tribe of that house is
so
driving
your
in.
tent, oh
Everybody,
Israel.
yes, would I be doing Dorime for him because he's
Papa,
coming. So when
papa.
you're
Mhm.
Yeah,
exactly. When you define your values, you'll be able to work in alignment with those things, and of course have conflict resolution systems. How would
yeah.
you resolve conflicts? What are the negotiation skills that you have taught them? So that
Mm-hmm.
if there's any reason why they have to resolve a conflict amongst themselves, they'll know how to negotiate out of the situation. Teach skills, have systems, ask for help. See, we're not here to decorate your spaces, we're here to help you. Ask for help, reach out. You don't have
Yeah,
to parent all by yourself. You don't have to carry the
yeah.
burden alone. You don't have to parent from a place of ignorance anymore. They like all of
Mm.
this would really help at the end of the day
Yeah,
to
thank
show
you
the
so
children that
much.
we are safe enough to interact with.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. It's
Yeah.
really, really been so insightful. Emuobo, do you have, because you were speaking when the network
When it
took you
went
out,
off,
yeah, do you
yeah.
want to just
I
round up?
think
Yeah,
Loretta has said everything. I just
yeah,
would just add that empathy,
yeah, empathy.
empathy
Mm,
within the family
mm,
is
mm,
very important. We
mm.
shouldn't expect too much, you know. Sometimes our expectations are so high. I want you to be
Mhm.
A
This,
plus plus
this.
plus, I want you so when the child fails, you're like, oh no,
Mm,
I can't take that,
mm, mm.
So
Yeah.
empathy um for the child, empathy,
Help create a safe place,
yes,
a safe place.
helps
Yeah,
create a safe space for
yeah,
that,
yeah,
for the
yeah.
child.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, in summary,
Thank you.
creating a safe space from a teenager's perspective will mean that they can speak without fear of judgment or punishment, and they
Mm,
know that their feelings are taken seriously by us parents. We are not
True.
dismissive of their feelings, and also they are confident that in that safe space there's no embarrassment. We won't, embarrass them even when they confide in us. And I think with all these tips that we have shared, parents would be able to build better connections with their teenagers. So I just want each of you to just give us your final thoughts because we are rounding up now. You know, we've overused our time, I even think. So just your final thoughts, please, Emobo.
my final thoughts
Yeah.
is just keep learning,
Keep
keep
learning. Okay.
learning, keep learning, keep learning. Knowledge is power. The right knowledge is better
Mm, mm.
than power. I know people say knowledge is power, but I always say the right knowledge is better than power.
Thank you so much. Loretta, your final words?
I would say always remember that whatever you do or do not do will be part of what you'll be remembered for as a parent, and that you're not raising your children for your home alone, that they are a part of a larger ecosystem. So, what
Mm,
will be your legacy? What will you be known for as a family? What forever and ever the family of Mary, Joseph, and Jesus will be known for something. When that family
mm,
is mentioned, a picture comes to mind. What
mm.
image will people have in their minds when your family name is mentioned? Or values do you
Mm.
have? What
Yeah.
communities have you plugged into that can help
Mm-hmm.
you continue to be
Mm-hmm.
better and better each and every passing day? What will be your legacy? What will be written on your tombstone when you go out of this earth, right? So when you write your eulogy and begin to live from that place backwards, think about it. Would your children say, Daddy was phenomenal, Daddy made sure that I am this kind or loving or loyal person?
I
Or
had
would
such a
they
great
actually,
relationship with daddy and
yeah,
mommy.
exactly, with or with your with their memory of you be, oh my God, I'm glad he's dead. Think about it. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much. It's really been an
Thank you.
insightful and exciting time, on this podcast. And I would just like to add to your final thoughts by saying that our children's silence is not because they don't have anything to say. It's often because we have not created room enough for them to be heard. So the good news is that it's never too late to change. So I want to appreciate you, Emuobo, and I want to appreciate you,
Thank
Loretta.
you.
Thank you for joining me in this episode. And want to encourage parents out there to please subscribe to our podcast, the Family Life Podcast on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram on Pro Family Life on Instagram. And perhaps if you need expert advice, you need to get in touch with one of our coaches. For instance, Loretta and Emuobo are parenting coaches, and we have a whole lot of different coaches in different aspects, marital coaches, premarital coaches, on the network of family system engineering practitioners. So when you reach out to us, you can reach out by just putting your comments on our YouTube page or our Instagram page, and most definitely we will reach out to you. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you, and we are hoping to see you in the next episode. Bye.